This is a walkthrough on doing do-it-yourself test mount jig from a template for whatever bindings you're going to be using. Start out with a 1x that is narrower than the ski that you're going to mount on. Note that a 9.5 millimeter drill bit tip is about halfway, runs about halfway through the board. The tools that you'll need are about a 24 to 30 inch 1x with a template, tape measure, awl, guide, square, posi drive, screwdriver, drill, and step drill bit. An optional clamp for the guide if you want, and a straight edge. So start with taking the 1x, put it on an elevated vise system because you're going to need to have clearance for your binding brakes. And then just measure the center line, or the center of the length of the board. This is a 30-inch board. This eighth. Widthwise, either take your template sheet with the centering tool on the end and note that we're trying to find the middle line here. So halfway between the edges it's just under 45 millimeters. So it's the green marks on this guy. So mark it here. Somewhere in the middle. On the other end. Or you can use a square and do the same thing, measure the halfway using a regular square. Take a straight edge, mark the center line, length of your board. Note what the BSL is. The boot sole length, which on this boot is 298, and this marks the boot sole center right there. So on your template, .298 is right there. So it's a good thing to mark a line on your template to keep it so you don't lose it. And then so when you overlap your other template piece, you line your boot sole centers on the template. So do the same thing on this guy. And you might want to take a little more care to square this up, but it's going to be the center line that keeps you square, not this line right here. This is just kind of a reminder line. Okay, so that being said, here's your center line that you can see on your ski or your board. So line the center line lengthwise, and then your boot sole center mark on the template. And then tape it on. Then with your other half, line up your mark. Center line to center line, boot sole length to boot sole length. Okay, now you have your basic layout for your binding. Take your binding and put them over your holes. And then take your boot and see how it kind of looks. Just kind of eyeball it, just as a initial check. See where things are kind of lining up. Obviously, you gotta make sure you're more careful on the securing the tape. Maybe a little bit more like duct tape so it won't come off. Now you're ready to mark. So this is your layout, and all you're doing is just marking taking the tip of an awl and marking each hole, crosshairs. If you get a little bit off, you can cheat it over until it's right. And that's why having a really sharp awl is really useful for this. So you can do some fine tuning on your mark. Okay, remove your template to the side, and you're ready to drill. Using a step bit, this is a 3.5 millimeter by 9.5 millimeter tip. For this case, with the guide, it steps to 5/16. So on a guide, you'd use a 5/16 hole, which will keep it straight over your hole if you don't trust your hand. But in this case, we want to be as accurate as we can because we're trying to create a template. So you can either put the tip into your mark, drop the guide down, and you can clamp it if you choose, or you just use your hand. So using the clamp, you can just put a clamp over it to secure it. And you're ready to drill. There's your hole. If you have a drill press, go ahead and use it. Okay, on the tool selection for the project, forgot to mention about a tap. So an AB tap matches the threading on the Alpine screw. Same pitch, same layout, same diameter. And the idea is that it, rather than crushing the core of the ski, it actually cuts a path for the screw to follow into the ski or the board. So you want to do that versus letting the screw just crush its way in, and it creates a better bond or better connection to the ski. So basically what you're doing is you try to keep it vertical, and you just letting it cut by, provide a good steady pressure, rotate it, let it cut its way in, and then when you have and then when it bottoms out, you'll know, but don't keep turning. If you run into any resistance, stop. You're better off pulling it out, because otherwise you can create a spinner, because what it does is then it just removes all the threads that you just put into the hole. Definitely keep it as vertical as you can. And the ski is going to be more firm. The top sheet's going to be more firm than a pine board, so there's going to be more resistance than what this is getting right now for the test. But it's a good practice. And actually, a hard wood is better, or plywood is actually better than using a soft wood like a pine for testing. That's the basic process right there. Just do that on all your holes. Clean them out. Mount your binder. Okay, ready to install. As a test. Okay. Pretty close fit. Looks like I gotta do a little adjustment on the forward pressure, but first time through, pretty damn close.